There is a level of thought so powerful, so clear, so commanding, that the world has no choice but to bend in its presence. This is not imagination. This is not some motivational myth. It's real. And the few who operate on that frequency, they look like magicians. But what they've mastered is mindset. Comment, my mind bends reality. If you refuse to think like the crowd, they don't chase results. They command them. They don't wish for success. They expect it. They don't hope for opportunity. They create it. And that's the difference. The masses think reactively. The elite, they think intentionally, like architects, like warriors, like creators of reality. You've been told to wait, to hope, to let life happen, and adjust accordingly. But what if you stopped adjusting and started directing? What if you took the pen back and rewrote the entire script of your life from the seat of your own mind? This world is not waiting to give you what you want. It responds to who you become. And if your thoughts are scattered, if your emotions run wild, if your identity is tied to what the world says, you're a puppet, not a creator. But the moment you take full command of your thoughts, the world starts listening. People move differently around you. Opportunities shift in your favor. Energy aligns. Not because the world changed, but because you did, because your mind did. You must stop negotiating with doubt. Stop dancing with fear. Stop dancing with fear. Stop treating your mind like a visitor's lounge and start treating it like a command center. This is not a game. This is your life. And once you train your thoughts, everything changes. The world is not your enemy. It is a mirror. It reflects whatever you broadcast. If you emit fear, you will attract resistance. If you think small, life will shrink to fit your mindset. But if you think with boldness, with clarity, with purpose, the world expands. Weak thoughts create weak results. There is no secret in that. Your life will never rise above the level of thoughts you entertain daily. If you think like a victim, you will live like one. But if you think like a builder, like a leader, like a force, the world will treat you accordingly. You don't get what you wish for. You get what your mind is prepared to handle. And most people are mentally unprepared. They want millions, but can't focus for 5 minutes. They want freedom, but are chained to their emotions. They want change, but won't change their thoughts. Training your mind is not a motivational suggestion. It's survival. Because if you don't control your mind, the world will, and the world doesn't care about your dreams. It only rewards those who take their thoughts seriously enough to mold them into results. So ask yourself this. Are you thinking with intention, or are you drifting? Are you designing your days or reacting to them? Are you the architect of your destiny, or just a tenant in someone else's building? You must become deliberate with every thought you allow to stay. Your mind is a gate, and every thought is either building your future or destroying it. There is no neutral. And once you realize this, you'll guard your thoughts like gold. Most people think in loops. The same tired thoughts, day after day, worry, doubt, scarcity, comparison, and then they wonder why their life feels stuck, why opportunity never arrives. But the truth is, opportunity doesn't visit the mind stuck in fear. You must break the loop, interrupt it, replace it. You do that by force-feeding your mind with a new script. Not once, not twice, relentlessly, until the new way becomes the only way. That's how you rewire identity. That's how you become the person the world listens to. If your thoughts are scattered, your actions will be sloppy. If your emotions control you, your results will betray you. A powerful life begins with a powerful mind, not just positive, but trained, disciplined, sharp like a weapon. Start speaking to yourself like someone you believe in. No more soft language, no more apologies in your inner dialogue. You don't say, I hope I make it. You say, I was built for this. You don't whisper your future, you declare it. Because if your self-talk is weak, your world will be weaker. The subconscious mind accepts repeated thought as fact. Whether it's trash or truth is your choice. Every time you say, I can't, it listens. And every time you say, I will, it listens. So say it again. Say it loud. I will. This is how warriors think. This is how creators walk, not with arrogance, but with certainty. You either speak like someone who builds mountains or someone who dies staring at them. When your mind is clear, your path becomes clear. The problem is never the path. It's the fog in your thinking. That fog comes from indecision, from distraction, from the opinions of people who will never walk your journey. You must eliminate mental clutter like your life depends on it, because it does. Every unchallenged thought, every unresolved emotion, every toxic opinion left unfiltered drains your power. You can't rise while dragging anchors. The wealthy, the powerful, the focused, they all have one thing in common. They think clean. They don't think more than you. They think better than you, sharper, simpler, clearer. They make space in their minds for only one thing, what they want. And that's what you must do now. Make space. Take inventory. Ask yourself, what thought patterns no longer serve me? What beliefs did I inherit that I never questioned? What voices in my head aren't even mine? You cannot build greatness with mental garbage. Take it out, burn it down, and replace it with vision, with structure, with fire. You weren't born to think in circles. You were born to think in lines, lines that cut through resistance like steel. This is not about being positive. This is about being precise. Wealth doesn't come to those who hope. It comes to those who know. And knowing begins in the mind. You don't wait for the world to believe in you. You believe first, and then the world follows. The world will try to distract you. It will offer noise, entertainment, opinions, fear. But you must remember this. Focus is your fortress. If your mind is unguarded, your future is unsecured. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Where it goes, your life follows. Most people waste it on nonsense, gossip, complaints, comparison. The few who master it, they buy their freedom with it. They invest it like gold. So train your mind to ignore what doesn't matter. If it doesn't build you, if it doesn't serve your vision, if it doesn't sharpen your discipline, it's noise. And your job is to mute the noise ruthlessly. You were not given this mind to consume. You were given this mind to create, to think at a level most people are too distracted to reach, to solve problems, not scroll past them, to lead, not follow. Mental clarity requires sacrifice. You must sacrifice comfort. You must sacrifice ease. You must let go of your need to be liked, to be understood, to fit in, because true power begins where social approval ends. And once your mind is trained, once your thoughts are focused like a laser, the world will bend, not out of magic, out of recognition. Because when you become a force, the world recognizes force. It has to. The moment you decide that your thoughts are more important than your feelings, your life begins to shift, because feelings are temporary, but thoughts create permanence. And if your emotions are running the show, your destiny is being hijacked. Train your mind to act independently of emotion. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you stop. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you freeze. Power is doing what must be done, regardless of how you feel about it. You don't need more motivation. You need more mental muscle, the kind that doesn't ask for inspiration every morning because it already knows the mission, the kind that moves, executes, repeats until results show up. And when they do show up, it won't be a surprise. It won't feel like luck because you were training for this. You were rehearsing this. You saw it so vividly in your mind that the outer world is just catching up. This is how the great ones move, not with hesitation, but with internal conviction. You will never dominate your life until you dominate your thoughts. And domination starts with repetition, daily, intentional, unbreakable mental reps. So do not shrink. Do not pause. Do not wait for someone to come train your mind for you. That's your job. That's your responsibility. That's your edge. And once it's sharpened, nothing and no one can dull it. Every day you have a choice. Feed your limitations or feed your potential. Most people feed the wrong wolf. They nourish their excuses. They water their fears. They entertain the lie that they are not enough and wonder why life won't open. But when you feed your mind with power, with truth, with relentless belief, everything changes. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. Your decisions change. And the world, It adjusts to match the new version of you. You must speak to yourself like a leader, not a victim, not a follower. You say, I don't fear pressure. I'm forged by it. You say, I don't run from difficulty. I grow in it. That's not ego. That's identity. And identity is everything. You don't attract success. You align with it, and alignment begins in thought. Your beliefs drive your behaviors. Your behaviors produce your results. So if the results aren't changing, don't blame life. Retrain your mind. This is the truth. You are one mindset away from a completely different reality. Not 10 years, not 10 coaches. One shift, one mental decision, one upgrade in how you think, act, and carry yourself, and the whole world begins to move differently. Because power doesn't ask for permission. Power decides, power commands, and you don't wait for the world to give you power. You become it by thinking on a level so rare that mediocrity can no longer recognize you. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. People will look at your intensity, your focus, your silence, and they won't get it. Let them talk. Let them label. Because while they're explaining your obsession, you'll be building empires. The mind trained for impact doesn't flinch at criticism. It uses it as fuel. It sharpens the blade. Because greatness has never belonged to the understood, it has always belonged to the committed, the relentless, the obsessed. When you lock in on your vision, distractions become irrelevant. The noise fades. The opinions fade. And what remains is clarity, ruthless clarity. And from that clarity, you take action that no longer needs applause. Understand, this mental clarity leads to spiritual certainty. When you know who you are and why you start here and what you start building, there is no room left for hesitation. You don't ask, should I? You declare, I must. And when the world tests you, and it will, you won't be shaken, because your thoughts will already be fortified, because you've trained your mind to respond with discipline, not emotion, with strategy, not reaction. This is the beginning of real transformation. When you no longer hope life gives you what you want, but you rise and take it, not with arrogance, but with the calm force of someone who has already become what the world hasn't caught up to yet. You must stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. The consumer waits, reacts, scrolls, envies. The creator moves, builds, designs, and executes. You weren't born to consume life. You were born to command it. Most people use their mind to escape. The few use their mind to construct, to shape, to carve a future so vivid it becomes magnetic. That's not fantasy. That's vision backed by repetition, belief, and action. That's how worlds are built. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything except decision. Decision to think bigger, to train harder, to eliminate the mental junk that's kept you playing small for years. Make that decision now, and everything changes. Don't just dream, engineer. Don't just want work. Wanting is cheap. Everyone wants, but few are willing to train their mind with the kind of focus that makes success inevitable. That's the level you aim for now. You must begin to think like the person who already has what you want. What do they think about in the morning? How do they move through their day? What do they tolerate? What do they refuse to allow into their mental space? When your thoughts, words, and actions align with a higher identity, the universe aligns in return. This is not magic. This is principle. Energy follows clarity. Results follow structure, and wealth follows those who think, move, and speak with purpose. Every great life begins with a great thought. Not a lucky break, not a miracle. A thought held long enough, believed hard enough, repeated with such clarity that the world begins to shift around it. But most people don't hold the thought. They let it go. At the first sign of fear, at the first sign of delay, at the first whisper of doubt, you must be different. You must hold the thought like your future depends on it, because it does. The thought is the seed, but repetition is the water, and action is the sunlight. If you don't feed the thought, it dies. If you don't protect it, it withers. If you don't believe in it more than anyone else does, it never becomes anything real. Train your mind to think in outcomes, not hopes, not possibilities, outcomes. Decide it's done, then act in agreement with that decision. You don't wait to see the result before believing. You believe until the result has no choice but to appear. That's the secret of the unstoppable. They see the outcome before the evidence, and that's why they create the evidence. They live by faith, but not blind faith, disciplined faith, faith that shows up, faith that works, faith that does the work when motivation is gone. So ask yourself, what thought do you need to hold tighter? What vision have you let go of too soon? Pick it back up. Refuse to drop it again. And this time, train your mind to hold it until the world has no option but to match it. There will be moments where your vision feels distant, where the world screams, it's not working. And in those moments, the untrained mind folds. But the trained mind doubles down. Because it knows something the average person doesn't. Reality is delayed, not denied. The results don't show up immediately, but the roots are growing. And if your mind isn't strong enough to wait for harvest, you'll keep digging up your own seeds. You must learn to act without applause, to persist without validation, to keep building when the only thing clapping for you is your own belief. That's mental strength. That's emotional discipline, and that's how wealth begins. Every day you either feed your vision or feed your excuses. You don't get both. You can't say, I want more, while entertaining the same thoughts that kept you stuck. That's like planting a garden and pouring acid on it every morning. You want to bend the world? Then stop breaking your focus. You want to dominate your space? Then stop letting your emotions decide your day. The people at the top, they're not the most gifted, they're the most consistent. So lock in, tighten your circle, sharpen your thoughts, and remind yourself every hour if you have to. The world bends for those who refuse to bend for it. There is a point where most people stop, not because they can't keep going, but because their mind gives them permission to quit. Their standard is weak, their self-talk is soft, and their dreams collapse under the weight of temporary discomfort. But you are different, because you're no longer listening to the voice that says this is enough. You've silenced the inner negotiator, and what's left is pure decision, pure fire, pure clarity, and that's what the world respects, not noise but presence. When your mind is trained, you don't need to tell people who you are. They feel it in your discipline, in your words, in the way you move. A trained mind carries weight, and the world moves out of the way when power walks into the room. You must keep building, even when it's quiet, even when no one understands. You must stay locked in when others drift, stay focused when others fold. That's how leaders emerge. That's how wealth finds you, because you became unshakable. You don't lower your vision to match your mood. You raise your behavior to match your purpose, and if your emotions can't keep up, you train them, because this journey, it's not for the emotional, it's for the intentional. Every day you choose average or excellence, survival or supremacy, drift or direction. And those choices start not in your job, not in your goals, but in your mind. Train it like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. The greatest shift you'll ever make is this, from hoping things will change to deciding they must. That shift doesn't require money. It doesn't require opportunity. It requires a weaponized mindset, one that's done making excuses and starts making moves. You don't need more time. You don't need more resources. You need more conviction, the kind that doesn't flinch when things go sideways, the kind that keeps showing up when logic says quit, the kind that makes the impossible inevitable. Conviction is not loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It shows up in discipline. It reveals itself in the choices no one sees, the early mornings, the silent grind, the refusal to fold when things get heavy. That's what bends reality. And if you want to be respected by the world, start by respecting your own thoughts. Stop speaking like you're weak. Stop thinking like you're uncertain. Every word you speak is either building the identity of a leader or reinforcing the cage of a doubter. You don't rise by hoping for better circumstances. You rise by training yourself to think above them, to move even when the odds aren't perfect, to believe before the evidence appears. That's the kind of mind the world bends for. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I reacting from fear or acting from decision? Then adjust. Lock in and return to the truth. You are the architect. The world is just following the blueprint you believe in most. Success is not complicated. It sets uncomfortable. It sets repetitive. It sets built in silence, while the world watches something else. The question is not, can you do it? The question is, can you keep doing it when no one sets watching? Most people can't. They crave recognition too early. They want praise before proof. But the mind trained for mastery doesn't care about attention. It's locked into execution. It's not here to be liked. It's here to lead. That's your standard now. Execution over emotion, discipline over dopamine, legacy over laziness. You don't need more rewards. You need more resolve. You don't need comfort. You need consistency. And you don't need validation. You need vision. The world bends not for those who make noise, but for those who move in silence with intention. Think about that. The loudest person in the room rarely leads it, but the one who sees further, thinks deeper, and decides faster. That's the one who owns it. So raise your internal code. Don't just think about your future, defend it. With every habit, every decision, every disciplined thought, you either honor your destiny or betray it. There is no middle. You stir not here to touch greatness. You stir here to become it. And that begins not with luck, not with applause, but with a trained, focused, unbreakable mind that says, I know who I am, I know where I am going, and I don't stop. This is the line, the invisible one few ever cross. The line between I want it and I will have it. The line between trying and transforming, between dreaming and doing. You've walked right up to it. Now you choose whether to step over. The world doesn't owe you anything. It never did, but it will respond to you the moment you decide to command it, not with arrogance, with alignment, not with noise, with discipline, not with hope, with certainty. You've learned by now your mind is the gate, and everything flows through it, your wealth, your relationships, your health, your impact. Train it, and it becomes your greatest weapon. Leave it untrained, and it becomes your greatest enemy. You will be tested. Life will hit you with silence, with delays, with doubt, but the trained mind doesn't retreat. It recalibrates. It holds the vision even when the world shows you nothing. That's not delusion. That's decision. And if you've made it this far, it means something. You're done playing small. You're done waiting. You're done bending for a world that was meant to bend for you. The next chapter, you write it with thought, with intention, with unstoppable clarity. If you, Seth, made it this far, drop a 100 in the comments. It shows you are part of the 1% that Seth is improving every single day.